we are doing a thing. What are we doing, Ash?
Wait, what? Sorry, I was kicking my dog out. I wasn't here.
We're
Yeah,
doing a thing. What
yeah.
are we doing?
We're just gonna talk about
Whilst we
stuff.
play Field.
Quite possibly the oldest game ever. It was Pong, then Cubefield. That's the order of events that came in.
Let's
Like it's
zoom in.
funny. This was a game that like at my primary school when I literally remember playing this in year 1. This was
Mm. This was it.
this was it. This was where it was at. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna start off with a question.
Okay.
Okay. What would happen if there was World War Three? Like, what do you think would be the series of events that cause
Like,
it?
what do you think would start it, or
Everything.
do you think would happen during it?
What do you reckon about World War Three? Like,
Okay. Here's where I stand with the whole World War III thing.
yeah,
Basically, I get the feeling that we're edging closer and closer towards it because Korea is kind of doing what the Nazis were doing in the sense that they were testing with things and keeping it secret from the world.
Yep.
Right?
I really don't know
And-
much about what Korea's actually been doing. Like, I've heard a bunch of people just be like, "Oh, Korea's doing all these tests and no one really knows what they're doing."
Yeah,
But that's
Korea's
really all
Korea's been doing missile tests.
I know. Oh, fun.
Specifically
Yeah.
some with nuclear
Hate it.
missile. But the thing is that Trump is now kind of being weird about it and is just saying things and doing stuff. Like, he recently just fired... Well, there's allegations to which he fired
I
the
heard
head
about
of the
that,
FBI.
The FBI dude, yeah. Which
Which is
I
very dumb, actually.
I don't understand. Like, you know, I don't know much about American politics at all. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like the FBI director is someone quite important,
Yeah.
and I feel like
I mean, FBI is a pretty important agency in the US. So,
yeah.
but I just feel like Trump will do something, for example, in Syria, that could help lead to North Korea maybe doing something.
I feel like Trump is a whole kettle of fish that needs its own podcast just dedicated to him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But like, no, I kind of agree. Like, it's a bit terrifying to think that like World War III could literally be around the corner.
oh yeah, absolutely.
And like, you know,
considering that we've had peace, well, like not exactly peace, but no world war for what, like 70 years now.
or at least no World War, I guess. But like, I think it's interesting because war has always been a thing. Like, I know
Yeah,
that
you can't.
there's the
war,
quote that is like,
war cannot be resolved. There will always be war. It's personally, I think it's somewhat man's nature.
I agree. I think conflict is something that's always like it's inbuilt into all of us. But like, I don't necessarily think conflict is a bad idea. Like,
Neither do I. I think conflict is sometimes needed, but not all-out war.
well, the perfect example of conflict done really well is PC versus Mac. Like,
Absolutely.
you know, two dudes who were best friends, and then eventually they were like, "Hey, I believe one thing," and then the other dude was like, "Hey, I believe another thing."
Or even PlayStation versus Xbox.
Yeah,
It's two different point of views where one thinks one is better than the other, but at the end of the day, they still do pretty much the same things. They get things done. There's nothing to fuss about. It's just people's opinions, and they don't like go into all-out hatred with each other over it.
yeah, and like, I think conflict is needed because, you know, without PlayStation's rivalry with Xbox and vice versa, they wouldn't be innovating. They wouldn't be trying to. Damn it! I died. I was doing well. They wouldn't. They
wouldn't be trying to one up at each other.
Yeah, they would get like, you know, Xbox would have done their 360 and they would have been like, well, we've got no competition, so there's no point us doing anything next because that's it. We're done. No one can beat us because we're the only one doing this thing. And which is fine. Don't
And
get me wrong. Like,
it's not really in the race, but you could still also say that Nintendo is somewhat a competitor.
We don't talk about Nintendo. No, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I
I think Nintendo's definitely making a comeback with the Switch.
no, I agree, and I think the Switch is a really cool idea because it's like a
It's a portable console, like a portable proper console.
yeah, which is
It's awesome. My only problem, like, okay, I think I've told you about my rundown on Switch.
you have
It's great console. It's gonna have great games. It already does with Zelda and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The only
up to
problem
number
for
8.
me, huh?
Are they up to Mario Kart 8?
They're up to 8 Deluxe. 8.
Ooh.
The normal 8 came out on the Wii U.
Oh, I see. No, I
But
thought it was
the
gonna
thing
be
is
handicap.
that I died again.
Yeah, me too.
Thing is that it's just like for like little kids, I think it will be a perfect console to start with.
I agree.
Mainly because the Joy-Cons, like the actual remotes that go on the side of it and you mostly use to play the console with, they're so small.
Yeah.
They're too like the buttons and the actual like sticks to like move around and do all that kind of stuff. It's just too small for me, and I find it, and the only way that I find it comfortable playing is when they're completely separate from the entire console and not attached to any holder or anything. Kind of like if it was like a Wii remote and a nunchuck.
So with the Switch, I really don't know much about the Switch because I'm not the biggest Nintendo fan because like I really
I used to be a big Nintendo fan because I had a Wii and I used to play it all the time. But but then they did Wii U and I was like, no.
well I think
So, but I still keep I still keep in tabs with it.
yeah, no, fair enough. I think Wii, well, Nintendo, I should say. It kind of goes back to the innovation that we were just talking about. How like I think how they have a controller which like you can hold, and depending on how you hold the controller depends on how
You play.
Yeah, exactly. Like my I've got a Wii and I really don't play it very much. But there's one game on the Wii which is do you remember that movie with the owls? It was like the Guardians of blah. I don't remember what it's called.
Oh.
But it had like all the owls and they were the Guardians who did the
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
I
So
remember that movie. I don't. For the life of me, I don't remember what it's called.
well, I never actually saw the movie. I still haven't seen it. I've heard that it's a very good movie, but I haven't seen it. But
yeah, neither have I.
the game of that is amazing. It's because you control the flight of the owl with the remote. So, like, if you just filmed someone holding the remote and just moving it around, it would be as if they're holding the owl and flying it around. So, like,
Yeah.
it would look kind of silly, but when you're in the game, it feels like you're moving the entire owl around, which is awesome. Damn it.
Yeah.
Hate
But
this game.
like, you can say that it's the same thing with the Switch. Like, sure, it's not the best reviewed game, but 1-2 Switch, it demonstrates what the console can do and what the Joy-Cons can do.
Yeah, and I think that's where Nintendo have their market in there. That they may not be as AAA,
Well, a lot
so
of their
to
market
speak,
also
as
comes from just their portable things like 3DS. And what's really dumb for me is the fact that they've just announced the 2DS XL right after the Switch.
what's the 2DS XL?
2DS X. So, did you hear about the 2DS?
No, I'm assuming
so
it's
the
a 3DS,
2DS
but in 2 dimensions.
So the 3DS. So the 2DS was a version of the 3DS.
Yep.
But didn't like it could play the 3DS games, but it didn't have the 3DS. The 3D option.
Oh, okay, so it just like minimized battery usage and stuff.
It minimized battery usage. But the irony is that it didn't fold like every other DS.
Oh, so it was like an original Game Boy. How it was just like this the screen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like the two screens, and that was it.
that's weird. Like
So the 2DS XL is pretty much a bigger version of the 2DS. It finally folds, and apparently it just has like miniature upgrades. That's about it. But the fact that they've done it right after releasing the Switch with great success, like it's already selling higher than Nintendo had expected. Like they've had to up like
production
so much.
Yeah,
The fact that they've
does
announced this basically a month after releasing the Switch, personally, I find that to be a very dumb move.
it does seem strange because oh my gosh, I suck at this game. It's like yeah, because it's I don't know. It's almost like for example, you're a coffee shop, and you just announced that you're doing this new brand of coffee, and then everyone comes into your coffee shop and they're like, "Wow, we really love this new brand of coffee." And then you're like, "Yep, well, cool. Tomorrow we're changing it to
Yep.
this other brand of coffee that's brand new, and we've never tried it before, and it could be awful, could be great, but we don't know." And then everyone's like, "Well, you had this really good brand of coffee. Why don't you just keep it?" And you're like, "Nope. Well, we're changing." I cannot play and
Like,
talk at the
like
same
it's not
time.
like they're getting rid of the Switch. I mean, like it's their main console right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it just seems dumb that they're now trying to promote a brand new console when a lot of their focus, I believe, should be on the Switch and the games that are coming to it, like ARMS and Splatoon 2 and other things.
I'm gonna pretend I know what they are. But
Okay.
yes, those games. Yeah, no, fair enough. Like I don't know. It does seem weird, but I think if Nintendo stayed down the path of trying to make gaming different. So like with the
Like
Wii.
trying to innovate on the model of gaming compared to Xbox and PlayStation, who are just trying to make better graphics and just
Yeah, exactly. So like
like Nintendo, they're changing the formula of gaming more than them.
exactly. And like that's why I think like VR and stuff like that has been so popular lately is because it's sure you might be
It's
playing a
changing the way
really
that gamers see it.
yeah, like if you played a VR game, but you played it as if it was like just a standard console game, you would be like, all of these games are awful. Why would you play
Yeah,
any of these? Like they're stupid. You know, you pick up this thing, you throw it. Oh, that's not it's not interesting.
and also they don't look great
No,
like on a screen.
no, not at all. But like because you put on the headset and it feels like you're actually in this world, it's that kind
Like
of new,
yeah,
fresh
yeah, exactly.
experience that people are looking for, and that's what I think Nintendo do really well. I think they're good at being like, well, we're not doing super graphics or super amazing games, but let's just make gaming different. Let's go out there and
Yeah,
let's go experiment. Let's go break the boundaries of gaming. And like me personally, um, I'm very much a music fanatic, and one of the best things that I
oh
like
yeah,
to hear when it comes to music is someone who does something differently, even if it's a really awful song. If they do something different that's interesting, I much prefer that to someone who just copies someone else.
yeah,
And
because it's new. It's
um,
something that hasn't been heard before.
exactly.
It's
And I honestly think innovation is one of the hardest things to do because it's so easy to just go and copy
it's the
someone.
it's one of the hardest things to do in any industry. I find.
I agree. Like, dare I say, when Goat Simulator came out, and that was kind
Yeah,
of the first kind of like really
that
wacky game that everyone's like, "What is this? This is funny because it's dumb."
this is and everyone's like, yeah, this is awesome. But then everyone just built on the idea of simulators, and it just
It now like as soon as I hear the like something simulator, I'm like, "Oh gosh, not another Goat Simulator." Like, don't get me wrong, Goat Simulator, like I'm not the biggest fan because I like at the end of the day, I just think that there's not a whole lot of gameplay to it. But I get what it was going for. It was designed to be kind of something that's a bit fun, a bit silly, kind of a bit what the. But then people have literally just taken it to the next level of like it's not even game anymore. It's just
yeah,
stupidity.
and that's exactly it.
And
Like for example, there was the whole thing with the game Bear Simulator, I think it was, and basically PewDiePie played it,
yeah, yeah.
right? And it was a crap game, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a crap game. So PewDiePie was totally entitled to whatever he said
Mm.
because it was a crap game. But the irony is that there was crowdfunding for it. The guy kind of delivered on what he promised, but he did it in a really crap way. And basically, because of that, he raged at PewDiePie because of his video criticizing his game, and then pretty much took it off Steam, I believe.
Well, like
Like that's just not how you go about that.
no, and I this is kind of comes down to the whole ethical thing when it comes to crowdfunding and the responsibilities that you have and whatnot. Like I know when it comes to crowdfunding, no matter what happens with it's the same with grants. I don't know if it's the same in the
Yeah.
rest of the world, but I know in Australia, if you're given a grant for a specific thing, you have to use the money for that. Otherwise, you have to give the money back. And I think
Yeah.
it's kind of a bit lousy if someone's they're like, hey, I want crowdfunding for this really awesome game. It's going to be this and this and this, and it's going to be awesome and that and awesomeness. And then you make this game and it's kind of rubbish.
Yeah.
And it's like you've promised something and then you've delivered something. It's like ordering a pizza and then someone rocks up with the box of chocolates. It's like, well, it's not necessarily bad, but it's not what I ordered.
Yeah.
And I think particularly when you're using someone else's money to fund something of your own endeavors and you don't really follow through exactly with what you're doing, I think that's when it's like, well, are you really doing it for the right reasons? Like, are you actually trying to make a game to share it with people and actually bring people together, or are you just trying to make money? Because if you're trying to make money, don't ruin the game industry doing it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've been watching lots of videos on excuse me, I'm dying. Lots of videos on phone games at the moment because I think that's very interesting, particularly with this next generation of kids coming out. Pretty much phone games and mobile games, they're going to be the games that we grew up on. Because like even
it's that's the case right now. Everyone, most of the population of first world countries will have a smartphone.
yeah, just because it's
And those people that have kids will probably have games for their kids on those smart devices.
yeah, because
And that's what kids will grow up with. Like,
Exactly.
for example, Angry Birds was the big breakthrough with that kind of stuff.
massive, yeah. And I think because
And it spawned a movie, it spawned a TV show, it spawned a whole bunch of things.
and I guarantee they made a stupid amount of money off it because of the fan base from the game. I guarantee they made so much money out of it just because
they
it had the name
absolutely
on
did.
it.
And they also made the spin-off Bad Piggies, I
Yeah.
think it was.
Which was a honestly, that's honestly one of my favorite my all-time favorite games on phone. Because it's just fun. On a phone, it's lots of fun just to go and kind of build something really stupid and just see if it completes a level. And
But then you also see first-party developers like Bethesda, for example, moving into the phone market. Like, for example, the Fallout Shelter. Like, that was an amazing game and a great way to pass the time while people were waiting for Fallout 4.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not really the biggest fan of waiting games, but I honestly I seriously enjoyed Fallout Shelter. Like I played it I
yeah, me too.
built my entire thing and then I was like, you know what? I'm done. So I just left it. And then I let everyone starve to death, and then they got attacked by death claws, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun, even because I wasn't doing anything. I was just watching it, and it was fun just because they designed it so well. But I think so often in the game industry, it's now turning to less of let's make a really good game and more of just let's try and just squeeze all the money we can out of people.
But the best part about it, sure, it had microtransactions, but you could play the entire game for free.
You could. And
you didn't need to buy lunchboxes or all that stuff.
No, you didn't need to, and I didn't.
You could literally just build everything from what you do.
Yeah, and I didn't put $1 into Fallout Shelter.
Do if they include microtransactions.
Yeah, and I didn't put $1 into Fallout Shelter, and I still really enjoyed it. But
I put a few dollars into Fallout Shelter. I'm not gonna lie, but that wasn't until later on in the game when I had already finished one of my vaults.
Yeah, but you really don't need to.
No,
I'm sure up until that point you still really.
Be.
I agree.
They shouldn't be paid to win.
I remember I saw a video by Nerd Cubed, and he was doing a review of Dungeon Keeper, which is a really really old game that I don't know, but it was like a 90s game, I'm pretty sure. And so basically the whole point of the game is that you've got this dungeon and you try and break down walls and kill opponents that spawn in from this spawner. And so the biggest part of the game is basically you go and you destroy these walls. And so when he was reviewing it, he was saying that every wall that you had to break down had a wait timer. And it wasn't even 10 minutes, couple of seconds, whatever. It was to break down one wall, it would take 24 hours.
Really?
Yes. And he made the point that it's not even playing a game. It's you're sitting there. You're not even sitting there. You tap a button, then you leave it for 24 hours, and you come back and you tap it again, which is not playing a game. Like,
No.
the whole point of a game is that it requires constant interaction. Like, even what we're playing now, it's a really simple game, but I'm still having to think
Yeah.
about it. I'm still having to input on what I'm doing, because otherwise I'll crash and I'll die and I'll fail. Where
Oh,
this
trust
game,
me,
it
I've
was
died many
like,
times.
to to genuinely win a game, it would take you months to dig out
Oh yeah.
all the places and actually get it. It was like, it's I don't even understand how people can make a game like this and be like, oh yeah, this is an amazing game. It's like, no, it's
Was it free to play though?
it was free to play, but there were microtransactions where you got gems, I think it was, and then those gems could speed up the wait timers.
Okay.
So when it comes to mobile gaming in general, because so many games are now free to play, but they've got microtransactions in it, it kind of encourages people to pay lots of money unintentionally for video games. So, like, don't get me wrong,
But at
I
the end of the
am.
day, all of that money is going towards developers, but the developers could either do something really good with that money and make a fantastic video game, or they could just waste it.
Yeah, and make another really cheap knockoff, like, microtransaction heavy free phone app that every kid and his dog is going to download, and then unknowings to their parents, they just go and buy everything because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And like, I would much prefer to go out and spend $100 on a really good game than spend $100 on some stupid microtransaction bollocks on phones.
Absolutely.
Because, like, Dungeon Keeper on phone, it's not even a game. And like the amount of money that you would have to put into it to get a game, you could buy a really awesome game for cheaper than completing one mission in Dungeon Keeper on mobile. And
Yeah.
I was genuinely like, I was disgusted when I watched that video. I was like, it's destroying the gaming community because it's the first thing that kids nowadays are going to look at. So they're going to see games as this really awful, like, oh, you have to pay money to actually play a game. At all. Like, don't get me wrong. If you play, for example, if you went and bought a copy of Call of Duty, you would own
Yeah.
that and you could do everything with it no matter what. Sure, like maybe they have DLC that comes out, but
And they do have microtransactions in it now.
yeah, and I honestly think that's not a great thing because
It's not. I totally agree.
I disagree with microtransactions because it's almost like you're paying money to get access to a game, and then they're like, oh, if you want more of the game, give us more money. And it's like, well, I already gave you money.
Or
If you want me,
or else it's the same with free to play. They could give you the lowest baseline game and then be like, you want to do this? You want to be able to do all of these things that just make the game so much better and not crap? Use microtransactions.
yeah, and
And that's where I think Ketchup Games, they're a developer for mobile.
they are my
they
favorite. They're honestly my favorite.
All of their games are fantastic. They're free to play. They don't have any microtransactions, and they're actually good.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. My favorite mobile game of all time um, is a game for iOS called Bike Baron. And unfortunately, I have an Android phone, so I can't actually get it because it's exclusive to iOS. But I believe it's a free game, or at least there was a free version. I don't know if the full version costs money or not because my friend had it, not me. But it's basically, if you imagine Trials, but just on a phone. But it's a bit
Yeah.
different. But it's kind of that sort of bike game where you go and you traverse maps and you kind of do whatever. And it's so much fun. It's
Yeah.
so much fun because you can go and you can build your own map. If you're sick of that, you're just like, oh, I just want to make my own map. You can go and make your own map. And honestly, I would go over to his house. He would play Skyrim the whole time. I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna go sit on your iPod, and I'm just gonna play Bike Baron. And I did, and I happily did
Yeah.
it for hours on end because it was fun. It was a good game. But so many games nowadays are just like ruining people's first experience of video games. Like
Absolutely.
if the first game I ever played was some cheap, nasty, rubbish video game off the Google Play Store, I would not play video
Mm.
games. And honestly, I don't play video games much because so many of them are just like fling money at me.
I like that now.
Yeah, and it's like as soon as a game says, give me more money and I will make it better, it's like, well, I don't want to play it anymore because if I have to pay money to make this better, I'm just going to go buy a better game.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know. It's just, it's sad that
Yeah, it is. It's very sad.
the gaming industry has turned this way. Because it shouldn't. Games should bring people together. Like, some of my fondest memories playing video games was at my old school. Me, two of my mates, we'd come home on a Friday afternoon. We'd sit down, and we'd play Halo 2. And we'd just
Yeah.
beat each other up. And don't get me wrong, we got angry at each other because we all kind of sucked, and we all just were angsty 12-year-olds back then. But, like, it was so much fun because you could actually, if you were angry at someone, you could lean over to them and you could punch them in the face. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Because if they
I know.
killed you, you
Like-
lean over, you punch them in the face, then you fight, and then you're like, okay, let's settle this with the next round of Halo. And it was fantastic. Because that's what we
Yeah.
did. We fought in Halo, then we went beat each other up, and then we fought again in Halo. And it was just like...
Yeah. It was a good balance. And like, how long have we known each other?
Oh, you know how bad my memory... When did maths... What are we in?
Um,
2017.
We've known each other, what, 7 years?
Sure. I'll go with 7 years. That sounds about right.
Yeah. And like, no matter where I've been, because like whether it was UK or Australia, some of my fondest memories has always been gaming with friends.
Yep.
And I remember the first time that you, me, and two of our other friends got together at your house. I think it was.
Probably.
I think we stayed over just so we could all play Halo.
And I remember
That-
that.
and that-
I don't remember when it was, but I remember doing that because it was awesome. It was just the four of us just hanging out, blowing each other's brains out. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
And then we made that more of a regular thing, and we did it at other people's houses, and it was so fun.
yeah. And then we upgraded to Halo 3, and you all beat me because I suck at Halo 3. Because they had a perfect control system, and then they messed it up.
Well, actually, no, I agree with you on that. I don't like Halo 3 control system. That because when we started playing together, like, sure, we would play the classic Halos a lot, but the one that we would
Yeah.
mostly play was Halo Reach.
Yes. Which is still, to this day, my favorite Halo. I'm sorry, classic Halo, but Halo Reach it was you, but better. In every way. Like, I don't know. So you go.
Personally, I'm on the front that Halo 2 and Halo Reach tie as the best games.
Yeah.
Because I love... Halo Reach was, like, the first proper Halo that I ever played.
Mm.
And I fell in love with it. It was beautiful. It was a great story. And it led in... And after, like, a few years later when I actually played the first Halo... like fully, like the entire campaign, I realized what Reach had done, and I just appreciated it even more. But then I met Halo 2.
Yes.
And then Halo 2 just kind of opened my eyes to what Halo was.
Yeah.
And how much it, like, from going from what the story did and how it changed between Master Chief and the Arbiter. For those of you who don't know, Master Chief was like the main human guy, and then the Arbiter was like this alien dude that you played as.
If you don't know what Halo is, stop the video, go play Halo.
Yeah.
Go find someone, go
Yeah,
find a friend who has
absolutely.
Halo, go play it, go punch him in the face, you will have the best time ever.
Yeah. And
As
like
long as
just
it's not Halo 4 or Halo 5.
having that experience, it just really made me fall in love. And a few years down the track, I would then start like trying to complete Halo 2 as fast as I could.
Yeah.
You doing like through, I don't know if you guys know, but called speed running, and I was actually okay at it.
Yeah, because there was a point where we both raced each other on Halo 2 and on Legendary.
On the hardest difficulty.
And you destroyed me. It was not even close.
yeah.
I gave up after I couldn't complete the first level because I was no good at it. But then you came and you smashed me at it, and it was good.
And recently with Master Chief Collection, that game has given me the chance to replay the like Halo 1 to 4, and I recently redid Halo 2 on Legendary again, and I did it, and it was just great. I I remembered every single memory that I had playing the original Halo 2 at your house.
Hmm. Like I think I like all the Halos up to Reach, and I like them all for very different reasons. Like I love Halo 1 because it is the first video game.
It is the foundation.
It is, but it's also it's one of the first video games I ever played.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's the only Halo game that I have genuinely been freaked out. The library on Halo 1 is honestly one of the most terrifying
Oh, yeah.
levels on any first-person shooter I've ever played. And like a combination of the music, because I'm such a music person. Like the music
Me
on
too.
the library was
It was
Like it was beyond creepy.
It was freaky.
Like I would genuinely I would turn the music down because it freaked me out so much. That's how much
Yeah.
it scared me. Plus it was dark and it was creepy, and there were these weird flood things that you didn't know what they were, and then you'd get blown up and you'd die for no reason, and then you'd run and you'd cry and you'd hide behind the couch because you were too scared of what was coming next. And it was fantastic.
Absolutely.
I loved it because it was like I've never had another Halo game feel like that. Because they just haven't captured that kind of raw terror and fear in a Halo game. And don't get me wrong, Halo 2 had its moments where it was like, this is kind of creepy, this is a bit disturbing. But from...
Like High Charity, for example. For those of you who
Yes.
don't know, High Charity is like the second last mission of the game.
Hmm.
It's pretty much you as Master Chief trying to get to the other end of a ship, and there's a whole bunch of flood in the way.
It's an alien ship. It's not a human ship.
Yeah, it's not a human ship, it's an alien ship. And there's a whole bunch of these flood things in the way. Flood things are pretty much like a parasite that feed on anything.
Nope, took my hand off. It scratched my arm and I crashed.
So, and honestly, even that mission, it's still quite terrifying because there are moments in that where it's pitch black.
Yeah.
But it tries to recapture what Halo 1 did, and it does, and it almost does it. But Halo 1, since it was the first one, it just did it better.
And I honestly think Halo 1, because its graphics weren't very good, I think that added to it as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But no, Halo 2, the second last map, it's like a huge maze as well. So it's super easy to lose your way and be like, I have no idea where I'm going. And that was the same thing that the library did. The library was super hard to follow. There were like little tiny doorways that you had to go through that were kind of really out of the way, and you had to find them, and it was terrifying. Halo 2, I really liked Halo 2 because it basically took what Halo 1 had, but just made it better. So like, Halo
it built
1
on the game mechanics.
Yeah, like Halo 1 multiplayer was lots of fun. One of my favorite things to do on Halo 1 is there's a map called Prisoner, which it's a very vertical map in that like there's like 5 or so levels and there's ramps going up everywhere. You put everyone on rockets and then you just blow each other up. It's great because it's just everyone dies.
It is fantastic.
But Halo 2 kind of did that, but it was better because then suddenly you could dual wield and you had all these new weapons that you didn't have in Halo 1, and it was like, it was suddenly, when playing with friends, I have no idea how I just did half of what I just did this then, but whatever. Playing with friends, it suddenly opened up this whole new thing where you could hold 2 weapons at once. So not only could you blow someone up, you could then switch your gun out and then pick up another gun, and you could start blowing your friends up twice as fast. And it didn't feel unfair because it was balanced so well, but it was still fun. But it was a new mechanic because you could suddenly hold 2 weapons and you could mix up exactly what you were playing, and that was awful. And you could change so much more just with such a simple mechanic of having 2 weapons.
Yeah.
And Halo 2 absolutely nailed that. Halo 3...
And then you moved to Halo 3.
For me, it was a little bit disappointing. Like, I did really like Halo 3 initially just because I never owned Halo 3. I actually played... the order in which I played the Halo. I played Halo 1, Halo 3, Halo Reach, and then Halo 2. So Halo 2 was actually the last kind of the 4 Halos. I don't consider Halo 4 or Halo 5 a Halo because they're not.
Well,
they don't.
Here's the order that I played them. I played it Reach, 3, 1, 2.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the way that lots of people played it. I feel like lots of people ended on Halo 2, partially because I remember Halo 1 coming out. I remember when the Xbox came out because I was very little.
I don't remember it at all.
Well, when the Xbox came out, I'm dying. Halo 1, I'm pretty sure, was one of the releases with
It was,
Xbox.
yeah, it was one of the release titles.
Yeah, and so when we got our Xbox, it came with Halo. And as much as my parents were not all that keen of like a 5-year-old playing Halo, um, they let me anyway. And half the time I did it when they didn't let me anyway. But that's beside the point. So like I was getting to a point. But yeah. So Halo 1 came out and I was really aware of it. Halo 2, I don't remember Halo 2 coming out. I don't remember hearing anything about it. There were no ads or anything. I didn't happen. But then when the Xbox 360 came out, Halo 3 I believe was one of the launch titles for that.
No.
No?
No.
Okay, I lied. I've never owned a 360.
Came out like
That's how old of a game I am.
2006. Halo 3 came out in 2007.
Oh, okay, so a year later. Okay, but it was fairly recent from when it was released, and I do remember. I specifically remember the Halo 3 ads coming up on the TV. I don't know why, because nowadays I really don't see any gaming ads at all on the TV.
I see the odd one or two, but most of those are online.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't see any on live TV.
I've seen
Mostly because everything's moving online now. Like, you look at Netflix, you look at Hulu, you look at Stan, Presto, everything is on there.
That is
many
true,
people.
actually.
There are millions of subscriptions and users that are using those services to get the shows that they want to, whenever they want to.
And that's a good point, actually. I didn't even think of that. But anyway, I remember Halo 3 coming out, and I remember always being excited to go over to my friend's house to play it, because it was the newest Halo 3, because I'd never heard of Halo 2. And then, was it Reach came out in 2010? Was it 2011?
It was 2010 because ODST, we don't talk about ODST, that came out in 2009.
I like ODST.
I don't.
I don't like... I don't like the multiplayer or anything like that. I'm not a fan of Halo 3 much at all.
The multiplayer, it didn't have its own proper multiplayer.
No, it was just Halo
ODST.
3 multiplayer.
It was Halo 3 multiplayer with all of the DLC, I believe.
Yeah, and even though it seriously lacked in multiplayer, I thoroughly enjoyed the campaign. It's one of my favorite storylines. Even though you don't play as Master Chief, I think it was nice to have a break from Master Chief and follow someone who's not so indestructible. Follow someone who's a bit more I'm kind of the rookie. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm trying to put this puzzle together. I don't know what's happening. And then you play as other people. And I thought that was really cool.
Okay. I didn't mind the missions as the other people. What I did mind was the in-between missions as the rookie.
Yeah, no, I agree. Running around and trying to find different places to actually start the mission was tedious.
So boring. It throws you right into it, and you don't know what you're supposed to do. And then you finally get to play as the rookie, and it's just to rescue this one little alien.
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing, but I liked the idea.
It should have been bigger. It should have been bigger. They should have developed the rookie a lot better. He doesn't even speak until... I don't think he even speaks at all.
I haven't played ODST in a while. But no, I don't recall him
neither have I, but I'm fairly sure he does not talk. And that was one of the things that always bugged me, because at least with Master Chief, you're playing as him, but he still talked. He still interacted with all the other characters. Yeah, he still had a personality.
Yeah.
This guy, it was just like a avatar, for example.
It was like a robot.
Yeah. No, he had no emotions. You couldn't connect with him at all because he never took off his mask. Master Chief doesn't do that, but he still has a personality.
Yeah, you feel like you know Master Chief, even though I never actually realized how few words Master Chief actually says. But you still feel like you connect with him because he's just the badass dude that just blows everything up. And that's all he needs. He just needs to be that dude that kills everything.
The thing with, we're mainly talking about the first 4 main Halo games that came out.
Yes.
which are 1, 2, 3,
Reach.
and reach. When you get into Halo 4, and 5, he has a lot more dialogue.
And
And that's kind of why I like Halo 4 and 5 a lot. He speaks more, you get to have a better relationship with him, and also in Halo 4, just the way that his and Cortana's relationship work. For those of you who don't know, Cortana is like his AI companion. Like just their relationship, how it builds, how it somewhat ends in that game is just personally to me amazing and quite beautiful.
And I can agree with you on that point. I am personally not the biggest fan of Halo 4, Halo 5. I've never actually played Halo 5, and I kind of I don't want to, because like I have such fond memories of Halo. I've heard so many negative things about Halo 5. I don't want to play Halo 5 and ruin the rest of what I've done.
Yeah. Okay. I completely get that. I'm not going to lie though. Halo 5 multiplayer was very fun. It introduced new mechanics that made it interesting, and I'm like I won't say that it wasn't a bad game. Like it lacked in campaign, but the multiplayer was amazing.
Yeah. And like I guess part of the thing that saddens me is that because I have such a strong bond with Halo and multiplayer, and especially local multiplayer, when like you can, if you're angry at your friend,
Oh
you
yeah.
lean over, you punch him in the face, her in the face. I did actually play with girls who would actually destroy me at Halo. It was kind of sad. Um,
Mm.
but like, because they took that out of Halo 5, I can't take it seriously, because it's like it doesn't. For me, Halo is a multiplayer game. That's what it feels like for me. Even though it's got a
Like
campaign.
like sure, like Halo 5 is multiplayer technically, but it's online.
And
For me and you, Halo is local.
yeah,
It's a local multiplayer. It's split screen, and that like having those interactions with other people around you, building and having those emotions, experiencing them in person. It just builds what is Halo for me.
yeah, and I agree. I think like I get where they're trying to go, because so much of gaming now is online. Like so much
Yeah,
of it is like, oh, you have a game, play it online with friends, and so then it's convenient. They don't have to come over to your house to play the game. It's like, yeah, I
and you
get
get
that.
more screen space.
Exactly. And like, you can connect with anyone in the world. So put someone in Australia like us, we could go and we could play Halo with someone from Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
Which
or else I like with the power of the internet, I could contact with my relatives.
yeah, back in Ireland.
And other places.
Ireland. Yeah, and I know you're from Ireland, and I'm keeping it safe.
Yeah, I may be the British/Australian tea drink,
Ah!
but like technically I am from Ireland, but I would still call myself British because of where I grew up.
And honestly, from Australian perspective, all of England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, you're all Britain. We don't know the politics over there. We just say Britain. So
Yeah.
yeah. What were we saying? Something about Halo. Multiplayer. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the problem is because you don't have. Wow, I'm getting progressively worse and worse at Cubefield. Because it's now solely online. It means you're forcing separation between friendships. In that, like,
Yeah.
to actually play with someone, you physically have to leave them to go and play with them. Which I don't know. I feel like the problem with the internet, in my opinion, is that there's a safety behind your screen. In that you can kind of say whatever, you can do whatever, and there's kind of not many repercussions for what's happening.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it can be, but it depends on where you say it and specifically what you say.
exactly, but like, if you swear at someone in a video game, it's much less rude than if you swear at someone in their face.
Yeah.
And while I don't have a problem with that, it's like you're kind of disconnecting who you're actually playing with, because you're suddenly not talking to your friend, you're talking to your friend behind the screen. Which is much, like, I can tell you now, I act so much differently when I'm talking to someone when people can't see my face than if I'm talking to them when they can see my face.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm the same.
Like, I am super introverted to the point where I'm really happy to go and lock myself in a room and just sit there and do my own thing. I'm totally fine with that. But
Me too.
even doing stuff like this, I find that I will just vent and I'll keep on talking. I know Viz hasn't talked much because I've just been talking the whole time, and
Well, I felt like I talked a lot at the start,
I
so
feel like I've talked a lot about Halo.
no, I mean like I talked a lot about just Xbox and
Oh my
Nintendo
gosh.
and PlayStation and how we started talking about like World War and how did
I
we
have
get to
no
Halo
idea.
from World War?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't doubt that Halo 5 is a good game. I just like the memories I have with Halo now, and I don't want to ruin it because as I've just displayed, I'm very opinionated, and I
Yeah,
love Halo, and I don't want to not love Halo. And I'm very much of the opinion that if something's going really well, you should stop while it's doing really well. Like you should get to the peak of when it's most popular, and that's when you should stop. Because once you get to the top, you can only go downhill from there. And whatever the last thing is that you do in a
yeah,
particular series, that's what people remember. So right now, Halo 5, even though I've never played it, that's what I remember. And
yeah,
I don't have fond thoughts for Halo 5 right now. Even though I've never played it, I know it's so bad to judge a game by its cover, but like I don't want to ruin what I've got
yeah.
because I like
Kind
what
of
I've got.
relating to what you're saying about stop when it's good.
Like
You can say the same about movies, specifically Pirates of the Caribbean.
yes,
Now, for me, the first three movies were amazing.
I agree.
They were the pinnacle of Johnny Depp for me and what he has done.
Mm.
Then they made the fourth movie. Everyone remembers the fourth movie
Because it was the bad
since
one.
as of right now, since the new one, Dead Men Tell No Tales, has not been released. It's getting released like in 2 weeks or something, but still, a lot of people remember the fourth one, which was On Stranger Tides, and that was absolutely awful.
Yes.
It was the worst way to try and bring back the series when it left on such a good ending.
Yeah. And the thing is, I honestly think part of the reason they're doing this new one is because they've realized, oh, that last one that we did, we can't leave it there because people hate it.
Yeah. So and the way that they're trying to fix that is like, oh, we brought back Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley.
It's like, well, yeah, but that's you didn't have to. That's kind of what the whole plot was of the other one, is that they were kind of stuck in their own positions. And it's like, well, you bring them back, and it's like, what? How? How does
Yeah.
it? Why? So
It's silly.
I don't know. I think another really good example. I don't know if you've seen BBC Sherlock.
I have not.
Okay, I would encourage you to watch it because I honestly, it is my favorite TV series of all time. It's very
Really?
good. Yes, I think Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. Just the relationship that they have is fantastic. Like I would say borderline flawless, because it's got an amount of seriousness as well as an amount of humor to it, and it's just the perfect balance. And I think Sherlock is such a good series because it's over now. It only had 4 seasons, and that's
Oh, so they've like completely stopped
I
it.
believe so. And I hope they
Because I
have.
heard that they only did like 3 episodes per season
Yes,
or something.
but each episode was an hour and a half long, so it's kind of like watching a
Okay.
mini movie. But because it was Sherlock and there was so much detail in it, it kind of had to be an hour and a half. But it's good
Yeah.
because like you can kind of watch each episode as its own movie,
Yeah.
and I like every single episode of Sherlock, nay one in the first series. The second episode of Sherlock season one, I'm not the biggest fan of, because
Okay.
like, which is ironic because I still think season one is my favorite season because it's got the first episode and the third episode, which like I would say they are borderline flawless movies. TV series, I
Okay.
should say, episodes. Episodes, that's the word. Flawless
Episodes. Yeah.
episodes because they're so well made, they're so well crafted, and absolutely perfect. The second one, I felt like they went a little bit too complicated, but then the third one they kind of brought it back. And then
Yeah.
like series one was really good, but it did leave it on a cliffhanger, which was obvious because they were making a second series.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad they made a second series because it needed the second series. Because if it was just a single series, I would have been like, I want so much more. Like even to the point where it's like, I don't care if, even if it's not as good as the first series, I still want more just because like this is something brand new that I've never seen before. I want to see more of this. And then the second season was amazing as well.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the third and then the fourth one. The fourth one, I do think that they have got progressively worse, but I think that that's honestly just how series goes because everyone thinks the first one and nothing is ever as good as the first one, except apparently Halo,
Oh yeah.
which I don't know
Absolutely.
how
Like
my brain has changed that way. But
the way that you talk of Sherlock, on how like each episode can be its own individual thing, but it all relates to one thing.
yes,
It kind of works in the same way as some of the other like TV shows that I watch. Like for example, Brooklyn Nine Nine.
yes,
They are they are 20-minute episodes. Granted, and they have like 22 or 23 or something per season. So the same amount as everything, but they're still only 20-minute episodes. But
Mm.
you can watch any of those individually, but at the end of the season, it still has kind of a overarching thing, and it all kind of ties together.
yeah. And the good thing
And
about Sherlock and Brooklyn Nine-Nine is that you don't have to watch them in order. So if someone was
yeah,
like, "Oh, I've only got season 2 of Sherlock," you'd be like, "Yep, that's fine." Because I don't really need to know. Like, there's a few things that they reference, but none of it is like key to the storyline, except for maybe one or
yeah,
two episodes in Sherlock. I'm not 100% sure with Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
it's not like that with Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But and then another thing that one of my favorite shows at the moment is CW's Flash.
Yes, you do not shut up about the.
I do not. So the Flash, it's just I'm a big comic book guy. I love comic books, and then I heard about Arrow, which was like the kind of the first show of that universe. And the way it was pitched to me was that, oh, it's Robin Hood. And I went, no, I'm not watching that. If it's Robin Hood, no. And then they said, it's like a comic book character. I was like, but you've explained it to me like it's Robin Hood, so no, I'm not watching that. Then Flash comes along, which is a spin-off from that show, but it is actually about the superhero. It's not, and it was actually pitched to me as if it is a superhero show.
Mm.
And I just completely fell in love with it. And because each episode, for the first season at least, like a lot of them were self-contained because they were still trying to establish the show and get enough kind of supervillains to be able to do a full season. And towards the end, you realize that every single choice that has happened in that show relates to what happens at the end. And that kind of idea, it goes through every single season because one of the main things about the Flash is time travel. And like kind of what you do now affects the future, and if you change the past, that like it affects everything. And just kind of the way that they've dealt with that, I think, is really interesting and makes it like an amazing show.
Mm. And like, I kind of have this thing with TV series, which I don't really like TV series much because I feel like if you watch the first episode, they kind of force you to watch the rest of the season. And if they have a second season, they'll leave it on a cliffhanger. You're like, well, I've watched it this far. I guess I must watch season 2. And I'm not a fan of those TV series because, like, don't get me wrong.
No.
If it's good, like Sherlock, I'm totally happy just to sit and binge watch. Like, literally, I watched
And
all three series, the first three series of Sherlock in one day, and it took me like 12 hours. But it was honestly one of the best days I've ever had because it was just me sitting there and just watching a thing, and it was great.
yeah, and that's the same thing with like the Flash. It leaves it on a cliffhanger for the next season, but it's one of those cliffhangers where it leaves the show in an interesting place for the next season and things that they can do with it.
Mm. And I feel like the Flash is probably a little bit more like it's got a more apparent story arc, but at the same time, like I feel like you could still watch any singular episode of the Flash and it's still fairly self-explanatory. Like
Yeah.
I watched a TV series recently, which I did really enjoy, and part of the reason why I watched it is because I knew it only had one season. But it was just it was a drama, so it was like every episode you had to watch it in order, which was fine.
Okay. What TV show was that?
It's called The Refugees, and I looked
Okay.
it up because it had the actress in Logan. It had Daphne Keane in it. Because I thought I knew her for something, and I thought I knew her from this, but it wasn't, and I was just completely wrong. But it turned out to be quite a good
Did
TV
you
series.
find out what it was though?
No, I mistook her for someone else because I'm
Okay.
smart. But no. Anyway, I was watching this TV series, and like I'm part of me really like I think the actual idea of the TV series is really cool. Like basically, um, there's this weird disease that's going on in the future. So people from the future
Okay.
have come to the past to seek refuge. But what that means is that suddenly the entire Earth is just overpopulated. Like there's an extra 3 billion people on the Earth just because everyone's escaped from the future.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of this weird dystopian, like everyone doesn't really know who to trust, and then there's this whole weird dramatic stuff that's going on with this one particular family because this refugee from the future came back, and it's all a bit complicated. But it was a really cool idea, and don't get me wrong, some of the acting in particular was a bit, because I don't know. I don't know a huge amount about acting, but I have been heavily involved with acting productions before, and like,
Me too.
yeah, you especially, and
Yeah.
like, I can see, that with this particular series, it was kind of the start for lots of them, which was fine because everyone needs to start somewhere, but part of that detracted from the story, and that's kind of why I kind of have mixed feelings about it because like I really liked the story. The story was interesting, it was dramatic, it was not too difficult
Yeah.
to follow, but it was also a bit it was confusing enough that you wanted answers. You wanted answers to all of this stuff. Um and I did enjoy it, but it was like if it had another season, it would have ruined it, particularly because of the way it ended. Like it couldn't have had another season. But
Okay.
they ended it, and when it ended, it was great because like I watched the whole thing. I'm like, I'm content with that. Like, I wish there
Yeah.
was more, but I know if that there is more, then it would just ruin it. It would ruin what we have already. And I honestly think bringing this full circle, I think that's what gaming needs to do, because
Absolutely.
Halo 4 was kind of the decline for me for the Halo series. Halo 5 is kind of like the bottomless pit that we don't speak of. And I don't want to even investigate it because I don't want that to be ruined for me. I would
Yeah.
rather have this really lovely kind of small pocket of Halo that's just there and it's perfect and it's lovely and it's fine rather than this kind of like really awesome idea that was really good and then it sucked because of this one game.
Yeah, and I totally agree.
So,
And that kind of thing can apply to a lot of things. Like for example, I don't know if you know, but there was going to be an exclusive that was coming out this year on Xbox called Scalebound,
yeah.
and and that and from what I could gather, it was like a single player multiplayer hybrid, kind of in the same vein as like the Division and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Which,
But it was with like dragons and
oh, okay.
other things, and it looked amazing.
So kind of like
And
Skyrim, but Division.
yeah, and it looked so cool. And but the thing is that the way it was kind of proposed was it was you could have multiplayer aspects, but at the end of the day, it was still a single player game.
Hmm.
And for me, those games that are mostly constructed for single player are my favorites. And what happened was Microsoft was like, okay, we love what you're doing with Scalebound, and we love that you're having multiplayer. Can you add more multiplayer? Because the irony is that a lot of people, what they're doing right now is online game, like we mentioned earlier. And they said, okay, sure, we can add more. They added more, but Microsoft still wanted more from them.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, the developers, Platinum Games, just said we can't deliver that. That change. That I think they were kind of like that changes what we wanted for this game, and Microsoft cancelled it.
And
It was nearly finished, and it got cancelled.
I think two things from that. One, I think good on the developers for being like, I don't care really what you say. We had this plan for the game, and we're keeping it this way, whether it goes ahead or not. I think that's really impressive for them. But also, like, screw you, Microsoft. Like, if someone's gonna make a
It
game,
looks like such a good game.
if someone's gonna make a game, let them make a game, because, like, if there's no point forcing someone to make something to the will of someone else. And I know that's quite a mouthful, but it's like if you
If you want to make something your way, do it yourself.
exactly. So, like, if you go to a blacksmith and you say, "Hey, I would like a really delicate pottery vase. Can you make one for me?" Then they'd be like,
And they go, yeah, sure.
"Sure." And like, no matter how hard they try, at the end of the day, they're a blacksmith. So there's no way that their pottery vase, their really delicate pottery vase, is going to be good than someone who actually makes vases. So it's like, why don't you let the blacksmith be the blacksmith, let the vase maker be the vase maker? And I don't know. I get angry when I hear things that are like, oh, you don't agree with me or what I want to do. Well, you can just forget everything. Because it's just kind of lousy. Anyway, what was your top score on Cubefield?
Well, let me kill myself
Okay.
so I can see. My top score was 482,090.
Okay, you beat me. I was 479,915.
Oh, that was
So
close.
you beat me by 10,000, which is like 10 seconds. Anyway, I think
On that note, we should probably end this podcast.
we should. That was good. I like how we started off with World War III and ended with screw Microsoft. I feel like that's a good progression.
I mean, I love Microsoft.
No,
but
I love Microsoft too. Microsoft, you're great.
you're great, but
Let people make
screw
their own
you
games.
for cancelling Scalebound.
Like, yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching, listening. Probably more listening. I died lots of times.
well, you may have been watching Cubefield.
Oh well, you've done well if you've been watching the whole time because I
Yeah.
didn't do very good because I was talking. I cannot play this and talk at the same time.
I think I did pretty well.
You what?
The irony is that I got my top score when I was like having a huge rant.
Yeah, no. As soon as I started ranting, I would like initially start talking and then I just crash because I'm right. Anyway, fare thee well, weary traveller.
Fairly well.
Which is me. I'm the weary traveller. Bye.
Meh.
Bye.
Meh.